Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rational Investor CEOs. This is our weekend offering, our Broiler Chicken Show. Somebody was asking in the lounge, why do we name it the Broiler Chicken Show? Why not? Broiler chickens were a product that you could trade on the, well, I think it was CME, but I can't even remember now. Might have been more like the Kansas City Exchange or something, but we used to, in the commodity pits, trade feeder cattle, live cattle, pork bellies, live hogs, and then they changed it to lean hogs. I don't know why. Maybe they delivered them dead. I don't know. Anyway, and broiler chickens. That was one of the meat products that you could trade. And I used to always joke that it didn't really matter what market you're trading. We're really trading just human psychology here and the collective perception of value. So you could be trading Bitcoins, you could be trading S&P 500, you could be trading broiler chickens. Doesn't really matter. And that used to always get a chuckle out of everyone. So I decided, what the hell? Why don't we call this show the Broiler Chicken Show? Weekend edition. It's about 10:30 here on the West Coast. I'll probably talk for maybe about a half hour, 45 minutes here. Not really too much to talk about, but nice to see that we got a little bit of a rally going on in crypto. So I hope you're all having a good holiday long weekend. It is Labor Day, the end of the summer. We often see this, but it's actually not a bad lesson for everybody just to start off with if you've never seen this before. Usually during these holiday weekends, you get a bit of frivolity in crypto markets, and that's basically what we've seen over the weekend. It's almost like a release of the Big Brother's pressure because all the sort of grown-ups are away. The market just sort of releases a little bit, and path of least resistance at this point seems to be up, not down. Most of these assets have been pretty washed out, so we've enjoyed some really nice counter trend rallies through the weekend. We can talk just a little bit about good old Bitcoin. Last Broiler Chicken show we talked a little bit about this potential fractal coming in here, and that actually did fire, so that's encouraging. And of course, we also spend lots of time talking about higher time frame green boxes. If you ever get yourself into green boxes and you fancy yourself an investor, especially off of weekly time frames, this is a perfectly acceptable area to be accumulating. The problem, of course, as you can see, once we get above 7,500, we leave the green boxes, and maybe not the best idea to be going and panic buying on those events. So those people that were able to dollar cost average your way in here through the winter and the summer, hasn't turned out too badly. We could talk a little bit about weekly W's, and it's encouraging to finally see this come in. But I'm just a little bit concerned that if this weekly W does come in, it could be a little bit of a trap. We've seen Bitcoin do this before. Keep in mind, market bottoms are never easy, right? They're always difficult. You can see that the market tried to double bottom here, lost the lows. You can see the market did double bottom here and then came down, did a nice little FU against these lows. So, while I'd love to be able to just sit here and say, yep, if the W comes in, we're pretty much guaranteed to make money. Obviously there's no guarantees in speculating. We might be setting up liquidity pools down in here. And we've talked a little bit, if we lose this low here, then our next key support's all the way down here. So don't be shocked, guys, especially if we come into the fall, that there's one more sort of push against the lows here to mark sort of the end of this bear. And we typically say that bears duration's about 18 months. So if we started in sort of December, January, then really we should be thinking like next spring for our ultimate bottom. For the time being, the irony of it all is I drew these horizontal lines probably about 4 or 5 months ago. And for the time being, we're still stuck in this trading range. So that realistically means, and especially if we start losing these kind of like downtrend lines in here, which you can see we're trying to do here with this fractal right now, there's quite a bit of playground up here. So, just enjoy it. From what I understand, I heard that things like Ethereum futures are potentially being listed on futures exchanges. Maybe we have a counter trend rally into that event, and then that marks our interim top, and then we work our way back down. Um, and usually what we say about bottoms is, ideally what we really want is like a saucer bottom where it slowly carves out sometimes. So, in the interim, what this means is we have a fairly wide playground here. Should be lots of fun, but at the same time, too, if you are an investor in crypto and bitcoins and all that, dips back down into green boxes are usually generally a good idea for dollar cost averaging into this name. I think I don't know whether I have. Let's see. Guess I don't have all the indicators on here. I wonder how I do that. It's been so long since I've done this on Coinigy. If I understand, I think Coinigy is actually launching a new updated version of their platform, so we should probably keep an eye out for that going forward. Let's see what happens when I do this. Is all hell gonna break loose here? Well, let's see what happens. Survey says. All right. So we look at the internals. Well, it's encouraging. Willie was stupid on a weekly basis. You can see the W there. You can see the W trying to come in on OBV. And of course, we've been talking about these MACD divs for quite some time now. So, path of least resistance in the short term, at the very least, it looks like 30 SMA here on the weekly chart, 78, 73. That should represent some pretty good resistance. And of course, that's going to take us up into reload zones. We'll talk about that in a bit. Really, I think that that makes sense if you're a range trader to start thinking about short trade location. And in fact, let's see, I've got one of these. Yeah, here we go. Remember, we had sort of talked a little bit about this through the week. I was concerned that the weekly momentum model was looking a little bit suspect because we had popped up against the top end of this range and we were just sort of floundering, and we could have M'd out there and that would have been nasty. But you can see our little MACD on this push up through the weekend here is going, if we finish today here, and keep in mind it's 10:30, anything can happen in the next 6 hours. But if we can push up through the top here and finish the weekly bar here, that becomes a very positive weekly development. So we will definitely keep an eye on that. So that's coming back to this conversation here. Do we make higher highs and higher lows on our MACD indicator here? But on balance, I mean, really, should we be an aggressive seller when Willie gets stupidly oversold like this? I think the answer simply is no. And it's a great anecdotal conversation about how the public, like, God, all we've heard is, altcoins are going to zero and all that kind of crap, right? So really, it shouldn't surprise us through this stupidity that we hear that kind of talk that crypto sucks and it's going out of business and everything's going to zero, blah 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 blah. But on balance, I think the simple fractal resolution here, I think in the short term for the next few weeks, it's positive. Obviously we'll see how this coming week develops, but on balance, feeling very positive about this space right now. And as we had sort of talked about in previous broiler chickens offerings, it makes complete sense to me that, professional traders are taking long shots against the bottom end of this range. And it looks like they're winning that battle right now. If we drill down to a lower time frame, the daily charts, I really like working off of this chart lately. It's nice and simple. If anything, coming out of this, it was very sloppy head and shoulders. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was very messy. And then, of course, our big SEC event day. What was really cool is if you were watching price really closely, this was such a beautiful setup right down in here. And as the market was, this was that mech sort of nonsense. The market came down following that MEX event and then into the actual SEC news event that they were going to reject the latest Bitcoin offerings. The market just stopped. And it was just such great journal material. I sure hope you all took the opportunity to really journal and try and remember how price acted when it came into these railroad tracks lows, because that was such a powerful event right there. We resolved that bullishly, and the market turned back up. Just even last week, we sort of parked ourselves in a little bit of a trading range right up against this wick. I do remember people on the site were talking about pin bars. And it was completely understandable. There were some people that were going to take short shots here. That produced a little bit of a trading range, and you notice that price just backed right up against the institutional moving averages and just stopped. We then, and keep in mind too, this was also coming out of, I don't think Willie ever got officially stupid on the daily charts, but really good looking structure on the momentum oscillator. And, even on the MEX event, they tried to break the market down on heavy volume, but the OBV just said, nah, Ed, we're not interested. And then on the resolution of this tight trading range, that bull bear battle line that I was posting, we broke out. And it's interesting through this event, and I've often noticed this. What usually ends up happening with assets is they move in one direction. It's just like, oh, sky's falling, down we go, right? Then we go through a period of sort of consolidation where price just sort of sits in a range. And what I've noticed is that after a while, if the market's sitting in a range and it decides that, nope, we're not going to go down anymore, we're actually going to go up, this has quite a bit of inertia because it's got all this energy all built up into it. And so looking for failure here after the resolution of this range, I don't think that really makes a lot of sense. And if anything, what you should expect is sort of the release of this energy. And we used to say the longer the channel, the bigger the run. You could argue that this was a channel over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 trading days. If anything, we should almost expect 17 trading days of up following this. Kind of like, how long this was, and then that expressed out of there. So, I don't know whether, I totally understand that, some of our sharp traders seeing horizontal support and resistance like this candle here. And then looking down on the lower time frame charts, like the hourly charts, 15-minute charts, are hunting short setups here. But I think, especially with the institutional moving average cross back to bullish, I would personally be saying, well, what we should be doing is institutions can't buy up here so far away from the moving averages. Let them come down to the moving averages, and then the institutions are going to be hunting long setups, and that's playing this move here. And what I did notice, like I said just a moment ago, hourlies, we did have some short setups come in very quick. You had to take profits. If you didn't, the market took those moves back very quickly. And you got to be light on your toes if you're going to be counter trend trading. That's kind of like trading long setups while the institution moving averages were pointing bearishly. You got to be damn light on your toes. Now, if you're hunting short setups with the institutions pointing bullishly, you better be light on your toes. And frankly speaking, a guy like me, I would prefer just to simply hunt setups with whatever direction the institutional moving averages are suggesting. And for now, that's up. And this might last a while. I'm not going to fight this. I see that OBV money is flowing into the space. I see that daily momentum's kind of wishy-washy, and I kind of am pointing that out on this chart. Right here, we've got lots of back and forth on the daily momentum. No real clear direction here. I don't have any signs of divergence or anything. And if anything, what I have to be cognizant of is maybe a potential divergence might be forming here. But as long as the weeklies are still pointing up and they're happy, I have to just simply let this play itself out first before making any big decisions. Um, so when we look at the MACD right here, you can see that yes, there is a potential top, but certainly nothing concrete yet. If we, I could completely understand if we put this little top in here. Then on the dailies, we're probably looking for the market to pull back again. Oops. And as I said just a moment ago, institutions can't really be buyers up here. You see where the 9-period EMA is. It happens to be right along this trend line. You can see the candle body lows are right in those moving averages. You can kind of see the top of value. And even this node right here back down against this low. We could very easily see a pullback, and this is on Phoenix. So here we are at 72.94. You could very easily see a pullback down below that sort of psychological level of 7,000. But I would imagine you're going to see a lot of buying interest right in these tails right here and right against these moving averages if we do get that pullback. I had sort of put out a while ago that I had felt like Mountain Man was probably a pretty good objective. You'll notice we do have a little bit of a price gap coming in here. This gap should be filled in with a candle body. So the fact that the market put in a wick up top here, and I did see people were saying, oh my God, Mr. Shorter's back on shorting, and oh my God, the shorts are getting all aggressive. It might just have been simply on that gap fill. That was a level for them. I've been playing this game so long. If Mountain Man isn't tagged here 7,500, I'd be very, very surprised. Could this also be a resolution of this range? Just a good old 200% extension. If we get the exact number here, boobity boo, $789. I clone that. That could also have been a very realistic price objective. I don't know whether we actually hit that or not. That's a tough one. But I could understand that, guys are like, okay, yeah, the head and shoulders is, a very sloppy one, but yeah, it looks like it's played itself out. And so as a result, if we get up into here, I'm going to take profits. But frankly speaking, I would be shocked if Mountain Man wasn't tagged here. And we look at the lower time frames. What I see is they're just pressing. There's no signs of failure here whatsoever right now in the short term to me. So, I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be hit. That's just me. I was really interested to watch how the market resolved this Gann angle on both Bitcoin and ETC. So, it's important that the market was able to accept above those angles, but nothing really startling to report there. It's nice to see that maybe Bitcoin has completed its Elliott wave here. I don't know, though. We'll know if it can close back above here and get W's going again. But ETH, I don't know whether ETH has completed its wave yet. It could be a number 5, but it just looks a little bit early for us to declare the bottom is in on ETH. Nothing really to report off of that screen. I guess what I wanted to show you with regard to Bitcoin was the hourlies. We had pretty big battle up in this area here. That was resolved bullishly. AB equals CDs, taking us up top here. You can see massive volume spike. Usually when you get these big volume spikes, there has to be a bit of a calming down after that effect. So could we have this pullback, like I said, back into sort of the 7,000 area for all the adults coming back from the holiday long weekend? Sure, that's totally realistic. It's not out of the question. And I suppose if we do that whole range, right, boobity boom, we can make an argument. You can almost see off the lower time frames where those institutions. That's a bit deep. I'd be surprised if we head all the way down there right now. I think there's going to be a pretty big fight up in here. And probably if we do like a 38.2, we'll probably see that. Oh yeah, it's a 38.2 right there, 68.50 area. So actually I do kind of like that. As I said, the adults coming back from the vacation, you can see the 13 or the 9 EMA right here is sitting at 7,000 even. So maybe we get some sort of dip against those candle body lows into that tail. And, if you are interested in being on the buy side of Bitcoin, that's probably where I'd be focusing in on right now. Through the weekend, did notice some pretty normal price appreciation, extension levels, looking at trading ranges, parking garages. You can see how the market worked its way up into this parking garage. And we did have a pretty big blow off top there with a momentum breakout. Great looking little signal right here off 38.2 of this range. I guess that's late Friday. And I always like to, well, not always. I often see that when we get these momentum breakouts like this, that sometimes actually these happen at the very end of moves and you get this monstrous breakout and then you get like a whipsaw the other direction. And that's almost exactly what I saw here. And the question now is, what does momentum do on the other side of this breakout? And what I found interesting through yesterday was that on the other side of the breakout, you can see that momentum actually started to coil again. And through the day yesterday, actually, we put in quite a respectable divergence, which was interesting. So I think you can completely understand why the market had this big rally here based on the fact that, Willie was pretty stupid there. OBV was still on balance heading into the name, not out. And this bullish div came in on MACD. So really, you could argue one hell of a trade location buy setup right through here, which set up that rally. I suppose one could argue these nutso wicks. That's maybe a sign of topping market. You can see the nutso wicks up here, and then the market has to consolidate. So, if anything, what I would say now, and I know it's a bit painful, but probably there is the top end of the range way up there. And there's the bottom end of the range way down there. And so we're just playing ping pong all through here. And my hunch is if we draw like fibs off of this range, this is going to be reload zones right up in these wicks. Wicks and tails like to be eaten, yada, yada, yada. Boom, boom. Yeah. So you can see 61.8 is right up against that peak there. And reload zone would just simply be an entering of this wick right up there. So my hunch is if you're going to be looking for resistance through the day, that's probably a pretty good place to start. 73.50 area, somewhere around that area. But like I said earlier, off of the higher time frames are pointing higher. So I don't know whether hunting shorts is actually such a good idea. If anything, you could make a very realistic argument that there's a trading range there. And there is a reload zone there. And gee whiz, look at the bottom that came in through the reload zone. So I'd be the type of guy where I'm just, my bias now has shifted to hunting longs. And I think anybody who was hunting longs, day traders through this morning, again, you can see bullish divergences through here. Willie was stupid. Hunting long setups this morning, I think, it's pretty fruitful. So that's sort of what I see with Bitcoin right now. And not a heck of a lot of new to report based off of last week. I remember last week's Broiler Chicken show we did. We talked a little bit about this fractal trying to fire. And of course, it did, which is encouraging. And for us to actually get back on the sell side on the weeklies, now we have to let this candle finish. Then if next candle is either an inside bar or railroad tracks or something along those lines, engulfing bar or whatever, then on the resolution of that next week's candle, The following week, we may get a sell signal. So everybody should go, oh, good. We probably got at least a couple weeks ahead of us of half decent price action for the bulls, if you're a bull. And, as I sort of said earlier, things look generally uppy. If somebody was going to ask me, what is the path of least resistance in crypto and Bitcoin right now, I would say up, not down. And that's a bit of a change, right? If anything, what you're probably going to hear from the talking heads and the Twitter folk, and especially CNBC and all that, is them talking about shorts. This is the top. This is the top. This is the top. And yet the irony of it all is that they don't understand that actually the path of least resistance is up right now, not down. It's just the problem is that we're so far away from the moving averages. Can the institutions buy right now? And the answer just simply is no. And I remember sitting in the lounge there the other day. We had this exact same conversation. Market was up here. Institutional bias had turned green, but institutions can't buy here. They can buy on moving average tags. Same situation, right? Yeah, we might get a couple days down back into the moving averages. And then I would be like, let's be really sharp to watch for bullish pivots. And I think really on balance, that's what I'm seeing right now. And then, the conversation that we've had for quite a while is if we were going to be looking for a top to come into this market, where is it realistic? And this really makes a lot of sense because, usually the first week or so after the holiday weekend, things are sort of like, kind of wishy-washy. People are getting back to work and board meetings are happening and people are deciding, trading plans for the fall. And if I was an institution and I wanted to be short Bitcoin, well, you can see the original double top that happened here through the summer, right? And of course, all the pros, they're off in the Hamptons, so they wouldn't short here. And of course, like we said, institutions can't sell down markets; they can sell up markets. So hopefully, everybody can see into the first or second week of September. They're going to be bidding price up right into an area where we should expect institutional interest on the short side. So that's sort of what I see happening here. I think they're going to take the market up into this reload zone, and then we're going to find out whether this thing's for real or not. And my hunch is based on the fact that this is kind of a funny looking double top. I wouldn't be surprised if there is some shenanigans against these highs. And also, too, I wonder whether, you can see the 30 SMA here is going to act as resistance. That's right into the, you hear Brian talk about candle body highs all the time. So, this close was 82.16. This open was 82.16. What do you think the odds are? Notice there's a little bit of a wick in there. So, if I was an institutional guy, that's exactly where I would be hunting, sort of 82.16 area. Up around 8,000. Right? I think that's perfectly realistic. And then notice too, if we do profile, there seems to be a bit of a muak up here, right up, and this original fail level was 78 and change. But you can see there is up to that 8,200 is that node right up there where the market originally failed. And yeah, it looks like there's also a gap right up in here. So ironically enough, if I'm going to be gunning for levels, I think that the levels that we want to watch are right up in this area up in here. I love send script for this. It makes life so easy to find these gaps. There it is. So can everybody see how there's some unfinished business right up in here? So if anything, why don't we throw that on there and we'll make note of that. That, to me, looks like an area the market needs to do some business. Where is that other gap reference? There it is. Clone. Put you up there. So I really I like that 81.79 level here on Phoenix. But you know, the problem here is, does the market ever move in a straight line? Is it just going to go straight up into that level? I doubt it. Probably going to be a lot of back and forth. Notice here, just even on the weekend, notice A, B, C, D. That was almost an absolute textbook harmonic pattern. So now maybe we have to take a couple days and sort of backfill. Do we fractal, right, to set up the next AB equals CD to take us up top? But I think there's lots of attention levels up here for us to gun for. And I also noticed too, and I thought this was really cool. Yeah, you know, this level in here is sort of like I kind of think it's kind of like the market right now is just going, wow, 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 come to me, baby. Right? Remember that soundbite I used to do? Probably up in here, right? Going, wow, wow, wow. Brian and his crazy sound effects. One thing that I really did like, which I thought was really cool, was and I've seen this happen a few times where, you know, Bitcoin's sort of floundering, but then when it starts to trend higher, and I think we saw this really well in the spring, especially this April crossover here. This is the period when the altcoins actually had their awesome little rally window. And if you look at a lot of the alts, right? Remember 420? We were all excited about that pot event window. Pot coins didn't really do much, but nonetheless, the whole altcoin market turned. And I'm seeing the same sort of thing now as well. And I think, you know, if anything, if there was like a message of this past week or two, and I might even write this in my journal entry for today. And I've seen this happen quite often. Is as soon as, and actually here, let's how do we do that? We'll go like that. Just make sure I'm on the right page here. How you guys doing over on YouTube? Are you guys enjoying the broadcast? I see there's a few people over there. Here we are. I think we're up to date now. Anyway, hope you YouTubers are enjoying our offering here today. Okay, so where was I? Our institutional bias turned back to the bull side. And then I noticed, and if we actually look at the altcoin charts, all the altcoins started to come alive on this event. So where's that? That's all these. So our institutional bias turned up here, and then all of a sudden, notice all of these little altcoins all started to come to life here. Even good old Ethereum, and Ethereum seems to be in the doghouse these days. But even so, this guy here, you can see the little double bottom started to come to life, Woo, really came to life. XRP, good old Richard Sherman, his coin. Can't really seem to get out of its own way. NEO, higher highs and higher lows, looking good. Oh, my little Omni stalled here. Boo, hiss, boo. But Bitcoin Cash, oh boy, look at that W. Beautiful signal down in here. Zcash even, and of course we had even talked recently the other day about this just fantastic setup here on Dash. I mean, really, everybody who takes these the course, right, and tries to learn sort of how Brian, the level 1 course, you know, just to start off with, this is such a good anecdote of this reload zone concept. You know, we're down at the bottom end of trading ranges. They've completely destroyed the previous bear. Hell, even reload zones off of this massive range completely destroyed. You know, sentiment is just horrific. If I'm not mistaken, probably some good divergence coming in here. Actually, even divergence starting there. potential monstrously big divergences. In fact, we can argue that now we actually have a confirmed divergence here. So, thinking about hunting longs on these names now, I think makes a lot of sense. Beautiful. In fact, actually, a really good example, I think, of a nice Davo here. Oh, I hate when it does this. Hold on a second. How the hell do you do this? Move to be able to manipulate this. You got to unmerge them and merge them back again. And then you got to change the scale. There. So, beautiful example right through. Whoops. Right through here of a Davo, where you got a nice W, especially with Willie Stupid, super sexy, and a nice W in OBV at the same time. Great signal, just fabulous signal. And, everybody can see reload zones and nice structure through here. Just really, everybody should learn this. Just simple, simple, simple stuff. And just even off of this range from the middle of the summer, 50% level, look at this crazy ass risk reward, 5-1. God damn. And then notice too that on the other side of this event, you can see the market sort of floundering here. So, maybe we ABE equals CD our way even higher, all the way up into here into reload zones. But if anything, just a really good example of trade setups that are coming in. And as I said, I think this is actually a really good sort of rule to add to our tool belt, that when the institutional bias turns back up positive, that's when we should really, off of things like Bitcoin, that's when we should really start to expect outperformance of the altcoins, because I see this happen over and over and over. So with that said, and just sort of, this is sort of our weekend show. I didn't really want to talk too much today. My head kind of hurts. So I did do a little bit of buying. I bought this little pink coin yesterday. There's a guy on Twitter that I respect, not so fast. He was talking about how he picked up a bit of this, just fundamentally like the idea. And then when I saw this W, hopefully everybody sees this W and goes, okay, now I understand what Brian's talking about. So I was more than happy to go and buy a little bit off of that. I'm up a few ticks right now, and you can see it did race all the way up to 138 overnight, but I'm really not in any hurry here whatsoever. This is a really good example of Nanny Nibble's strategy, where you can see, I mean, basically we've just taken back the entire bull market, eh? In fact, here's a really good lesson for you too as well. You'll notice, you've heard Brian in the past talk about wicks and tails like to be eaten. Let's see if we can do that. So if we do a horizontal ray off of that just insane tail, right down to there, 66 ticks. And you can see here, let's see if we can do it like this. Yeah, so you can see how that there was cheeky little gaps right down in here. This is sort of the original double bottom breakout, right? You could argue there's a W, gee whiz, right off that level. Yeah, there could be a bit more action down in here, but the long and short of it here is we're finally back down into support. And if we look at that, right, that's there. Woohoo! Insano nutso bull market last spring in this one. There is the January peak in Bitcoin. Didn't really produce that much of a rally. But notice, here we are, come right back down to those levels. And we might see some more play down in here. It wouldn't shock me. But, we said wicks and tails like to be eaten. It came down, basically ate most of that wick. And gee whiz, what a coincidence. Here come the W's. So, there was one gentleman in particular who's like, well, Brian, if I see a W like this, how should I, if I wanted to be a buyer, how should I approach this? And I just simply say, well, just keep your reload zones in mind. And gee whiz, what a coincidence. You can actually see that this reload zone, even now, is basically lining up with that original bottoming area. See right in there. And being a buyer anywhere in here, I wouldn't have a problem with that whatsoever. In fact, if we actually drill down to, like, say, an hourly chart, I think there is, yep, you can see there's a cheeky little gap right down here at 85. I'm along from like 97. So, in that area is perfectly fine. So, you could always throw in a stink bid, cheap ass. You can see there's 96, 97, funny little gap right in there. There's a bit of a gap right in there off of my original buy level. So, if you did want to join this party, you don't have to be like, oh my God, I got a panic buy and buy up here, right? Just throw on your fibs, draw your reload zones, hunt the gaps, and work bids. In fact, actually, there's even a cheeky gap right there, right down at about 78 sats. I don't know whether that gets filled. I do like this one getting filled in here, 83 sats. I think that works. Right. Monday through Thursday. Okay. Alex is sending me messages. All right, so that's sort of what I was playing through the weekend. You can see we sort of exhausted ourselves here in the short term, not really in a big hurry. But on balance, not a bad little popper. I noticed some of the pot coins are starting to come alive too. So maybe if you're interested in being a buyer, take a look at some of these names too. You can see they're right against their lows. I noticed that Tokes is having a pretty good day here. Nothing really solid bottom-wise, but you might actually even be able to bang out doubles here. You can see this is 11,000. These wicks are all the way up to 20. So it looks like the pot coins are coming back. Actually, one coin that really caught my attention here was the ZCL. You can remember we talked just a moment ago about W's coming in. You can see the W in OBV, and you can see the W in Willie. So it's encouraging to see that pivoting there. So that's good. And actually, one coin that I'm very interested in, Alex's coin, you can see that it's basically come right back down to the original sort of, this is where it was Jumbox. Then they reorganized it and turned it into this thing called Ubic, and then it had its nutso insano rally, and you can see that they basically just brought it right back down to the original reorganization level right here. And so Alex is getting basically what he wanted, his developer cycle. So this is a name, definitely nibble worthy, no doubt about it. And sort of on that same note, but I am going to trade this as a trade setup versus nanny nibbles. I did go in and buy a little bit of, what the hell is it? Somewhere around here. This OMG might be a little bit of a flyer, but I'm willing to risk against this double bottom low. The breakout level here, you can see it was 457 right there, 456.99999. And they did actually bring it up, and they traded to a high of 465. So I was like, okay, well, that is technically a double bottom. It's not the prettiest of double bottoms. I suppose if we had gotten a close above this 446 level, 448. So that in essence gives us a clothesline buy signal as well there. And I noticed that we were perking our way up here yesterday. A little disappointed that we crapped out here, and this might fail here. That is totally realistic. But I'm basically going to risk this W, just almost kind of like what we just saw with the dash. So I went and strapped on a little bit of this through yesterday. But if we lose these lows, then I'm going to walk away. Simple as that. I think I've thrown about $1,200-$1,300 at this trade. And if we break this low, that's 360. So it's basically a buck. I'll risk, $200-$300 of that $1,100-$1,200. So I have been picking up a couple of these names on anticipation that the crypto rally continues, but you never know in this space. Maybe this thing craps out, and if it does, then I will walk away on a break of these lows. And you can see there's some nice gaps up here, but what's really cool about this, and maybe this profit objective is a little bit aggressive, but if I just simply take this entire range here, and this is, and we do W and this has turned, it's a big if. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. 50% level sitting up here at 14 bucks. Brian, if I get up into that $9 area, which is sort of in here, I'm going to be like, oh man, I want to sell half and get myself a free look kind of idea. I'm risking about $1, so I want to see at least a couple bucks here. But, if I can have the patience and discipline to wait to it for a 50% level tag, then that's a 7-to-1 risk reward. Wow. So let's watch how this plays. I think ideal scenario, we rally up into that 9. I sell half on a double, get my original capital back in my hands. Then I'd probably put the stop to my original breakout level on the remaining and see if I can get this level for the remaining of the position. But we will see what happens. And you can see right now I'm a little bit underwater now on this trade. So that's the way it goes. Okay, so that's sort of what I've been doing. Some of the things that I'm looking on, some names that maybe you might want to consider taking a good look at. Of course, all-star of the weekend. If anything, it makes perfect sense in this space. Good old Doge. Woo, Doge. Now, the issue here is, and I certainly hope nobody on TRI was thinking about being a buyer up here. Hopefully, everybody can see exactly where the double bottom came in. And if you were trading this, right, and I did see a lot of people on the site were like, I'm long from 37, I'm long from 39, whatever. Awesome, way to go. You just got handed an absolute treat through the weekend. And if anything, I think this is such an excellent anecdote, right, where, this is the January peaks. This was actually, I think this was their Dogecoin, wasn't it? And in like literally in this case, 3 days, 1, 2, 3 days, they literally take back about 8 months of crap. And that is so typical capitalism. And that fund strat guy, Thomas Lee, he's been talking about how that's what he's sort of expecting Bitcoin does. Is we spend, a whole shitload of time just, getting the public out of good long positions, and then just bang, 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 it works its way right back up top. And it could happen. And if anything, here's a fantastic analogy of that happening. Now, what I would see here at this point is, if we draw fibs going back up top, it shouldn't surprise us where the market stalled. Gee whiz, what a coincidence. Actually here, I guess we go like this. What a shock. Boom, boom. So she stalled right in the area where she's supposed to stall. So anybody who did have this trade on, hats off, congratulations. You should have gotten nice doubles, nice free positions. Way to go. Being a buyer up top here, that's just silly. And really, you're asking for trouble doing that. And if anything, this is a perfect anecdote of what we do at TRI. Anything, probably if we go boobity boo, yeah, you can see that that was a perfect reload zone long setup. So, can everybody see the reload zone ping pong game going on here? It's not rocket science. It's pretty cliche in a weird sort of way. That's the irony of all this. Probably a really good example, too, of, we talk about the line in the sand. Right? If this is a bull, then the bulls will desperately try to hold on to 78.6. So really good analogy of that. The only other thing that I would add to this, and do I think that this thing's ready to break out and go to new highs? I don't know. This might have just been sort of weekend frivolity, crypto pump, with the holiday weekend and, all the adults away. This feels like this was just a bit of a playground. But we'll see. Only time will tell. I suppose if you did want to participate now, we probably ought to do reload zones heading back down. And notice 78.6 is going to take us right back down into this area down in here. I guess that's what this fib was that I did there, yeah. So really, I might argue if you did want to participate, you can start your sort of hunt back at 48 sats. And, the irony of it all is, Alex Stirk, we used to do those Coinigy shows with, he always just said, hey, if Doge ever gets below 40 sats, I just want to be a buyer. So how ironic, every time Doge gets below 40 sats, that actually turned out to be pretty good advice. And really, I love the double bottom here. It's just such a great double bottom. But, we can't chase. And if the market's zooming up here, yeah, the market did go further. But the risk of buying right here is against this double bottom. You just never know what's going to happen. And anybody who bought up here is just dying 1,000 deaths right now. So, hunt those W's. And if anything, with the profile looking the way that it is, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some shenanigans against these lows, right? Really, we need to fill in this profile part here before we know for certain that this thing has turned and we're heading to the moon. This looks a little suspicious down in here. Now, the only other thing that I would say about Doge, which is kind of funny, is in a weird sort of way, I can actually sort of see where this thing ultimately wants to go, because they left this big old gap on the charts right up here at 270 sats. And Joshua, our demon gap hunter, he is sitting up here. I don't know whether it happens today or tomorrow or this cycle or next cycle, but ultimately this gap will want to be filled in. My hunch is that's probably into like that 2019, 2020 event window. We're just trying to carve out bottoms now. There the smatterings of double bottoms, get yourself free positions, yada, yada, yada. Has this thing really, quote unquote, broken out? I might argue that, this is somewhere up in here, some sort of top of your range. So I wouldn't say the breakout is on just yet, but at some point down the road, my hunch is that's where she goes. She's going to, but that's quite a ways down the road. Okay, so that's sort of what I'm seeing in the broader market. Yeah, I strapped on a couple cute little positions through the weekend that I'm liking, that I think, just following along my sort of nanny nibble sort of strategy. If I see W's come in, I can add. Good looking little coins and lots of upside potential. You can see the juicy gaps up top here. So I am on balance a net buyer. Show me W's and I will be very interested on the buy side. Going slowly. There's no hurry. If this is a bull, it will just slowly turn the corner and there will be lots and lots of money to be made down the road. We do not need to go bet the farm on anything right now. Okay, so let's finish off. I asked at the very beginning of the video today, there were a few people in the lounge, and I said, okay, you guys give me some names. We'll take a look at them, and then we'll send you everybody on their way. So James started off with, let's take a look at ETC versus US dollar. And what exchange do you like to look at this on, James? Kraken, release the Kraken. Oh boy. Yeah, I remember I was talking a bit about how I was interested on the long side and then this thing fell apart, and on the counter trend rally, I just walked away. So, I suppose Nanny Nibbles, I really don't know. And that was a trade that I took per se. And I'm still in my Ethereum trade from the summer and still waiting to get out of that damn thing. Oh boy, where the hell's the bottom on this thing? I hate when you keep going back and you have to go further and further and further. All right, so it seems to be somewhere in there. Oh, okay. So hopefully everybody can see the very well-defined head and shoulders that could potentially be coming in here. So boo to boo to boo to boo to somewhere in this area. We got that low there. Something like that. So if anything, I actually don't mind the idea. And from what I understand, there's talk of these things, ETFs and futures listing and all that. I don't mind the idea of a nice little counter trend rally back up to the top of value to carve out this head and shoulders, but gee whiz, I sure don't like the look of that now. And I was super, jazzed about ETC because I was like, well, this is one of the only ones that has weekly W's working. Let's see, can we even see them? Yeah, there they are there. So that was that weekly W that I was talking to you guys about. So we really would like this weekly W to hold. The fact that they're come right back against these lows is not encouraging. As I said earlier in the year, I did take some shots, but those shots failed, so I just walked away from that trade. Awfully tough. It's what I don't like now is we made lower low, lower low, lower low. Ugh, it's a tough one. Yeah, I would be on pause here. Like I said, I was super jazzed about this. And I think on this failure right through here, I lost a lot of enthusiasm for this name. So that's sort of what I'm seeing right now. Yeah, we're coming up against the line in the sand, 78.6. So it shouldn't surprise us that there is a fight here against this original double bottom. Kind of like Bitcoin, I can completely understand the professional traders are going to take their long shots here. They're going to say, all right, I'm willing to take my shot. If we lose these lows, better get me the hell out because we could dump all the way down into these levels here. So I think that's sort of my impression here. And as I said, I had setups working off of lower time frames, but those setups got busted. That little W produced a nice little trade. Maybe you got a free look out of that. And then I had sort of, okay, maybe we're hunting longs here. Those got busted, and so I had to hop off. At the same time, too, I suppose, those people that are risk takers, you can see the W. This is kind of like OMG kind of trade. But you can see the W trying to form here. If we lose these lows, though, look out. This is a pretty big tail. We could have to do some exploration here. Me, personally, I've tempered my enthusiasm right now. And if anything, probably if we go boobity-boo. Yeah, nice stabs into this tail would be great trade location right here. Very iffy. Not really anything I'd be too excited about. If I was interested in hunting longs, I sure would like to see a nice dip down into this area. And then give me a nice little sort of W coming through here. That would be awesome. But I don't think that's going to play out that way. If anything, what I think's probably going to happen here is A to B. C to D. My hunch is they bring the market right back up against value high, maybe even against those candle body peaks there, and then we find out if this thing's for real or not. And me personally, I would just leave this alone. I can't understand though, probably, I don't like the fact that it made a new low here, but I can understand that maybe there's guys that are like, well, I'll take the bot setup here if it fires. Let's see what that is. Yeah, right there. So we'll go there. So for the traders, actually, here, why don't we get rid of that? For the traders, 33, 66, held 66. All right, boobity boo, and trade. Yeah, there you go. So I could understand, the traders going to be long off of 13 and change. And I haven't done this exactly. You're going to have to sharpen these up for yourself, wherever that is. Looking for ultimately 16 and change. So, you're going to risk $2 to make $3. Something's not right there. $3.50. Oh, $11.90. Okay, yeah. So risk about $1.20 to make $3 or $4. I could see that. And then also, if we do reload zones against this range here, boom. RLZ, there we go. So in essence, the bot target for those that are trading this thing, you're going to risk against these lows. You can see the double bottom. You can see 1 low, 2 low, 3 lows. So that's nice. I mean, you got a levels to work with. We also look like we have a trend line break, so that's encouraging. And you can see the ultimate objective is basically a test of value high and a tag of mountain man level there. So I think that makes sense. So that's what I would be seeing on ETC right at the moment. All right. Let's see. OCN BTC on Trex. OCN on Trex. All right. What do we got here? All right. Well, doesn't have that long of a history. Looks like she's trying to bottom. With a lot of these names, you're best off to simply just go and figure out what the ICO price is. And I think I have, we were doing this on the site yesterday. It was just a really simple Google search. It's OCN and then ICO level. And let's see what comes up here. Yeah, actually, this was the same chart service. I have no idea who these guys are. ICO drops. So what are they saying here? OCN token price 0.00389. 0.0000132 ETH, 54 sats on BTC. Does it say here? Token sale, January ICO token. Okay, here we are. 1 OCN equals 0.0119 USD. So it's a penny. That's 1,250 ETH. So it's trading at almost 1/10 of its ICO price, So it's like 0.11. So it's a little bit more than a tenth, maybe like a fifth of the original ICO price. So it's cheap. Looks like they listed half of them, maybe a little less than half of them. I don't know. That's a tough one. Tried to raise $47.6 million. Wow. So I do like the fact that we're hunting for bottoms on these names below their ICO prices. That's awesome. Total discount. Then, it's not a bad idea probably to go on that coin market cap site and just see what the what's this? OCN Odyssey. Okay, so here on Coin Market Cap, I suppose we can do that here. And there are guys on the site that have some sites like there's a site called Coin Checkup or something like that. So we got Jesus. That's a 4 billion. Is that right? 4.7 billion. That's million. So 10 billion total supply. That's a bit of a problem, guys. Right? I mean, these guys, they better be reinventing the wheel for that much supply to be out on the market. Market cap, $18.4 million. Jesus, they better be doing something big here. I thought it was interesting. I think it was CRB. Can't remember if it was this one or not. This is a name I'm interested in. 16.6 million out, and has a total market cap of $700,000. So hopefully you can see the difference between them. They're kind of apples and oranges. This scares me with this much supply out. I mean, they better be doing something just fucking revolutionary. I mean, what is the story? The future of decentralized sharing economy, the foundation of global peer-to-peer ecosystem. Blah, 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 blah. That's just a bunch of hot air. Click here to register for OCP airdrop. So they got more supply that they're giving. I don't like the sound of that. A universal protocol based on trust and credit for sharing economy. Oh, geez, a whole bunch of just mumbo jumbo. Spearheaded by the highly successful team from Odyssey Protocol, and will have a direct integration with the OCN ecosystem, further tying together the global sharing economy community. The global sharing economy community. Wow, there's a mouthful. OCNEX strives to provide innovative digital asset trading services unique to the global sharing economy community, and will support the highly anticipated OCP airdrop from the Odyssey ecosystem. So is OCP going to be a sort of a token on this OCN platform, kind of like Ethereum kind of stuff? I don't know. Fundamentally, I'm starting to see red flags. So I really don't like the amount of supply out. I suppose we could argue, at the end of the day, let the chart tell you, volumes speak volumes. On this, I guess, event of this new OCP being listed, that's obviously injected a little bit of enthusiasm into the space. Don't really see a hell of a lot of signs of W's here. This just looks like lower highs and lower lows. I suppose one could argue, technically speaking, if you get a nice turn through here, nice W's, then, maybe we got something to work with. But Brian and his crazy weekly W's, obviously we don't have any kind of weekly W's there whatsoever yet. So it's still trying to find its bottom. And if anything, the one thing I really don't like about what we saw through last winter, one Satoshi. All right, Sad. Now, keep in mind, there are people that participated in ICOs, that took shots here, maybe a bit of knife catching and stuff. So we have to be empathetic for those people, San. Please. But yeah, this is a tough one. That much supply. I mean, the supply alone has me worried. That's a heck of a lot of supply. And even now, at only 53 sats, this thing now still has a market cap of $18.5 million. So, I mean, this thing has got to do, it's got to perform. We got to hear that these guys are, everybody's raving about them in the community, and wow, look at their awesome product, right? Structurally, this thing is very heavy, but we'll see how it goes. Would I give this Brian's go out and buy it right now? No, I think I would just leave that alone. But that's just me. I'm a big stickler on the amount of coins out. That's really important to me. So that's a little bothersome. All right, well, I'm just giving you my straight goods. Please don't infer, bullish or bearishness out of any of this, or whether it's a really good name or whether it's a crappy name. I'm just telling you my opinion. That's all it is just Brian's opinion. This W might mark the bottom, and it's nice to see that there is some buying interest, probably on that OCP. airdrop event. Maybe if you want to play this, get a little bit of a bounce here. Maybe see if you can see 100 sats. That's not really out of the question. To get yourself a free look, and then, you know, wherever the story takes you, it takes you. But me, Brian, I'm going to take a pass. So. Okay, next one that was asked for, Ada. Ada is another one of these that's kind of an interesting sort of, you know, is it going to revolutionize the space? I remember we had one gentleman on the site. Geez, it's interesting how that's just last year. From years gone by, you know, we affectionately named his setup the Ron Jeremy setup, just for sort of humor purposes. Just hunting, you know, 1 tag, 2 tag, 3 tags of a trend line, take the trade following the trend line break off of whatever structural signal. And of course, that got you being a buyer right through this breakout right here. And of course, if you can get internals that are validating the signal, rock and roll. So you can sort of see if I was going to be a buyer of ADA where I should have been paying attention right down in here. So where are we now? Well, so that's still quite a ways away. And interestingly enough, right, remember we saw that big volume breakout, right? You can see where everybody's sort of long this name right here. If we apply that sort of same logic to there to there, then I would be inclined probably to go here to here, and then here to here. I think if anything, what we're probably is sort of trapped in a trend line wedge here. Looks to me like 1, 2, 3, break. This is in play. It failed. Coming down, trying to find a new low. And of course, this is relative to Bitcoin. I'm also watching ADA here on relative to cash. And that's this chart. The tether, right? So we did have a potential trend line break, Leanne James, that was through here. And then you notice that it W'd and then it went and M'd basically off the same level. So it's like, rah, 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 we're a bull. Nope, we're a bear. And I do see this happen quite a bit. No doubt about it. Market goes and breaks out. And then right after the breakout, it goes and breaks your heart and it M's out. Basically saying, all right, I'm a bull. No, I'm not. Anybody who bought this level better get out. And sure enough, down she goes. I suppose at this point, just off of the US dollar proxy, and let's see, that's 38.84, 38.80, 38.8, 38.84. Oh yeah, okay, so that's the higher high. So ironically enough, actually, there's your market structure trend line all the way up there. So if we go off of here, and really you can see that was probably the one that, well, I don't know. Very sloppy. Nothing really solid to work with here. Probably something along those lines. So I could very easily see the market rally back up top here. And if we go boopity boop like that, yeah, I think we're probably going to see this battle, right? So this trend line lost. You could argue market structure here. You know, we've got this sort of railroad tracks if we can accept above here, and you can see the fight. This is kind of like my OMG, right? They're really fighting. Am I a bull? Am I a bull? If we see this thing back up through this high, what's that high? 11.2 cents. right? That's telling you that, all right, we're back in the bull mode. And trendline support off of that. Keep in mind it hasn't come in yet, but trendline support right now is sort of against these lows here. So you can kind of see if we just draw a triangle, you can kind of see this is our playground for the time being. Right in there. Could easily trade anywhere in all of this space. No problem whatsoever. And I suppose one could argue you might, if we're lucky, get a little bit of a buy signal, risk against the lows, rally up to the top, 1.5 to 1. Not enough for me to get too excited. If we do really get going, right, I suppose we could argue kind of like what I did with my OMG idea. We really do get going, just 50% levels would take us up into there. But unlike OMG, I don't like how this significant resistance line is just floating out here. And my hunch is that's probably 38.2 right up in that area. So not really the best structure. Kind of wiffle waffly. Maybe bottoms down in this area. You know, if you want to be hunting. Actually, I don't mind a pullback against these lows. You know, we could even, if you are interested, be hunting off of, say, like the hourly, where you're going to risk against this actual low. Right. Okay, there we go. And you can see how this works pretty darn well. Reload zone. There we are down in here. Look at that nice little W right off of the line in the sand. So that was a pretty sexy little trade level in there. Like so. And then, you know, if you had seen this W and reload zone, you'd be like, damn, I wanted to get in, right? Well, you can see. Oh, they didn't give it to you. That's too bad. Didn't even give you the pullback to the mountain man level. So, no dice on that RLZ. That would have been a sick RLZ within RLZ. So, but nothing there to work with. So at this point, you know, I'd be I wanted to be a trader of this. I definitely like, you know, is that the trend line? No. Trend line. And this is nothing more than a potential trend line. It is support, but it hasn't been validated because we haven't gone through that high yet. So just be cognizant of that. But yeah, if I wanted to be a buyer, I might be hunting this 0.09 area down in that area there. 9.5. Looking for that reload zone back down against these lows. In fact, you can see, look at that cheeky little gap right in there, right? And there's also another one right in there. So that's probably where I would be hunting, down in this area here. And then versus Bitcoin, I don't know, man. I don't see a heck of a lot to work with here. Still looks to me like it's trying to find its bottom, right? And so if Bitcoin continues its march higher here, relative to Bitcoin, I don't see anything to get excited about here. And you know the problem I have with this kind of names again, right? You saw that CRB. That's the kind of numbers I like. If we go look at ADA, doesn't ADA have a bazillion gazillion coins out? Oh Jesus, how big is this number? There's 2 million. So 30 billion supply, of which there is now 25 billion coins out there. And I mean, the market cap right now, that's $2 billion. Ay. You know, anybody who's taken my level 1 education program, I'm obsessed with the number of coins out, the number of shares outstanding. So when I see something like this is very problematic for me. If you're going to be trading off of this, I don't. How do you figure out what value is on something like this? What are you saying, Sane? Sam, you got a microphone? How would you figure out what value is on something like this? Do you feel like talking today?
I just had to switch on the microphone. Yeah. Oh, I'm hearing echo. Sorry, guys.
I'll put my.
Okay, so yeah, sorry, I'm busy with the crazy house renovation stuff, so I was quite late in. So to be honest, I don't know how you would ever put a fair value on something like Cardano. But I do think that it's a really interesting project, and they are making the right connections um, with mathematicians and cryptographers and with the science community, I would say. So they are they're trying to push the boundary, I would say. And I find it just as interesting as EOS, for example, or Ethereum.
All
But,
right. Is
but
this POS or POW?
I think at the moment it's POW, not quite sure.
Oh,
But
really?
they are the it might be that they go to, I think they will go, no, I'm pretty sure that they will stay POW actually. But I'm not quite to be honest, I'm not quite
Kind
sure.
of
It's
running
been a
out of
while.
supply though, eh? They only
I need
got
to look at it, but
26 out, and there's a total of 31. So
yeah,
they've only got 6 billion more coins to play with.
only 6 million, right? Yeah. No, they have more. Like the max supply is 45 billion. So
They could take it all the way up to 45. Well, fucking A, man.
yeah, it's quite ridiculous, I would say.
Yeah. So, what would be the cost to actually, if it's POW, what would be the cost of mining to actually keep this thing going? What would be the point at which, but isn't this like kind of highly centralized? Don't they have like a huge chunk sort of in just a few people's hands?
Ooh, to be honest, I don't quite know.
So, I understand that these, they're big names. They've got to bring it. And you're not buying a cheap name. You saw the difference between the CRB and this thing and that other one that we were looking at, right? If anything, I think this thing has a little bit more reputation than that Odyssey in the space. So
For sure, yeah.
it's got a bit more traction.
That's its only saving grace, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose this is the kind of thing where you really want to check the developer team, right? And their sort of reputation and, like Sen said, the relationships that they're building and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, there's still a lot of room. There's a lot of capital that could come out of this thing. And me personally, I'm just not the biggest fan of buying coins that have a gazillion shares out. It just sucks. It's
And
just
also,
me.
if you look at a fundamental level, I mean, this is a utility token, right? So,
Okay, so that's a good point, right?
so
But
no,
um,
it's because of the volatility of money, right? Or the velocity of money.
that's right. So if it's a utility, then it's going to do a job, and does it really even care what the price of it is at the end of the day? I mean,
not that.
could this be 1/10 of a penny? Does that make any difference as to the utility of this thing?
No.
So be careful, everybody. This isn't a name I would be pounding the table on. And if you're going to trade this, then, really have your technical reasons down solid. And as I'd sort of shown everybody earlier, the way that I would approach this kind of things, pure momentum plays. And that's where that sort of Leanne James, Ron Jeremy setup really works well. Is it will tell you when the momentum is coming in here and get ready for a rock and roll breakout. Where did I show that? I guess it wasn't off of this chart. Must have been off of the original one. Yeah, right here. So, if you want to play momentum, great. I mean, you can see the W's coming in on volume, money pouring in. We don't really have that much MACD history here, or Willie. I don't really have a lot of trend line breakouts. I suppose one could argue. I mean, gee whiz, what was the market cap of this thing when it was up here? That's like literally what? 5 or 6 times the market cap of what it was right now. Ay. It's enough to give you a nosebleed. So you can see we're coming back down to the original bottoms, but until this thing does start Wing out in earnest, I don't know. I just don't see. I suppose if you really believe in the story, but then that's a question of does it have value? You could do your nanny nibbles, but the amount of coins out on this thing has me very worried about quote unquote value here. And trade setups. Do I actually have W's coming in? I suppose you could argue. And this is predicated, of course, on Bitcoin not doing anything. If anything, Bitcoin being bid up here and this thing just sort of floundering means that this thing's under pressure. But I think you can see, versus Bitcoin, there is the potential W. So if it does confirm this W, then you can get in there and start hunting setups. You can see we do have a bullish divergence in MACD. Willie is technically stupid. So there might be a trade here. Keep an eye. What is this? This is where's the high? 1538, and it's sitting at 1441. Probably very similar to that sort of OMG kind of trade. OMG already did, though, put in its W. I would prefer to see the W here on this thing. And as I said, versus cash, the tether, that would be this level here, 0.112. We got close, 0.1104, but no breakout. And of course, there is that sort of reload zone kind of trade if you wanted to. This actually looks very similar to that Dash trade. So again, the traders, I think you want to concentrate on 0.092 area. But fundamentally, I get very worried about these names that have a bazillion, gazillion, jazillion coins out. Okay, let's see. That's my 2 cents for whatever it's worth. LTC from Felix. I kind of like Litecoin in here. It's kind of a sort of a not necessarily a Bitcoin proxy, but sort of like a medium-sized proxies. You can see the double bottom railroad tracks. That was probably that same reversal that we saw off of Bitcoin on the SEC announcement. Basically, that's sort of the bottom right there. I don't think it's a good idea to go be a buyer here. In fact, we might even be inside bar failing. And if we lose these lows, if this candle stays exactly the way it is right now, and then we lose these lows tomorrow morning, well, you can see we could dip. There's a bit of room to come back against all this. And if you want to be a buyer, right, you're going to draw your reload zones, and you can see RLZs lines up almost perfectly with that railroad tracks low there. So, if you did want to be a buyer of Litecoins, I do like the idea of hunting sort of 53 to 56 bucks right in that area. See if there's any gaps or anything down in here. This is versus Tether. I suppose, if we look at it versus Bitcoin. I'm not quite sure which is the best venue. Let's go around Phoenix. All right, so you can see versus Bitcoin. You can see the cute little W's. WWW. This actually kind of looks like that Dash chart as well. We haven't broken out of this range yet, though. So I think for the time being, there is the top end of your range right up there. And there is the bottom end of your range. And if you want to be a buyer, right, hunt your long setups through reload zones. I think that makes a lot of sense. Right down in this area here. And I might even argue, again, you can see these nice candle body lows, the tails right in here. You did want to hunt sort of entries. That is that bottom down in that area right in there. That's not a bad shopping location. You can notice, as the market was making lower highs and lower lows here, notice the MACD did not. And of course, notice Willie's stupid. So I really like the idea of hunting longs right there. That seems to be the level. And you can see double bottom here, clotheslines right there. That's where basically the market found support on the next go. And we could also, all you day traders, and if you go boobity boo, just even against that range, gee whiz, what a coincidence. Now we're getting reload zones within reload zones. Love them. Sexy, sexy, sexy. And you could even argue, you want to take this to the next level. Reload zones within reload zones within reload zones. Talk about a level, eh? Wow, look at that. We love those triple RLZs. That's the sexy sex right in there. Can we justify going and buying up here? I don't think so. I think you're a bit late. If you were looking at that and you're like, but Brian, I totally want to get in on this thing. Where should I be shopping? You can see. Interestingly enough, right against that original bottom, there's 78.6 right there. And of course, we just heard from the man himself, but the gentleman who built Simple Gaps, the script, good old Sen, right? Use this tool to try and help you identify levels at which to work bids. Thank you much, Sen. You are a scholar and a gentleman. Hello. So you can see 61.8. Use Sen script. There's a juicy little gap just sitting there going, fill me, fill me. Then I think we also, but that gap's been filled in, so that's good. And that gap's been filled in, so that's good. Yeah, I think that's not a bad level to start thinking. And of course, if we lose these lows, right, look left, right, you can see that if we do lose this level, boom, next key support's down in this area here. So definitely a place to start your sort of hunting is this 0.0088, right in that area right there on that gap. Got to tell you, Sam, that is one hell of a cool script that you built. Way to go, dude. Way to go. All right. So Litecoin, that sort of gives you your some lower time frame levels. And as we said, off the higher time frames, I think there's a lot of money to be made in these in this space. It's just a question of when does the sort of the sentiment turn. I even like, just looking off of this Phoenix chart, the low to high. You can see that we are back into sort of respectable zones. This is a bit choppy, though, when you see this straight line move. Key support is down here. But if you start getting some serious anecdotal evidence of, market obviously is egregiously oversold, we're starting to get bullish divergences. If you start seeing W's, the buyers actually coming back, you can see where the low of value is here. I don't think there's a lot of people that really want this thing to go down here. And you can see that this is a big old muak, right? Where's the muak? Muak, where are you, muak? So there's lots of business to be done all through here. So let's keep an eye out for that. There could be a nice little trade developing here, and especially 50% rules. Maybe use that 50% rule as a target. Yep. It's funny how this stuff lines up so nicely after a while. 50% rule is nothing more than just a revisit of this node up top here where all these people are long, short. So ironically enough, the market springs back up into here and it just gives all these people that bought the opportunity to get off at scratch. That's sort of what I think is at play here. You would like to see Excuse me. Oh, really good example of OBV divergence. Notice how price went to lower lows here, but OBV did not. And we've told you before, OBV divergences are so powerful. So we're not really getting any like monstrous signals out of volume or OBV in here, kind of drifting, but it is encouraging to start seeing the signs that price momentum is getting stronger. So I really don't, like I said, I started off the conversation. I really don't mind the idea of hunting long setups off of Litecoin. I think there is some money to be made here. It's just this might take a bit of work back and forth here to actually get the trade off. And, you know, this is just like that OMG. OMG has confirmed the double bottom here. This guy hasn't quite yet, but same sort of logic. If this thing has bottomed and turned, there's lots and lots of up room to go here. But we haven't quite turned the corner on this guy just yet. And if you're going to be a buyer, right, just simply hunt your reload zones, and you can see the recent range that we've just established is set up a buying window if you're going to take your shot. Looks like the shot should be taken. Yeah, that's it right there, right? Between 0.00865 area and 0.00 what's it say, 0.0088, so somewhere in there. Okay, well, I've been blabbing away for about an hour or so, so I hope you guys enjoyed the offering. I asked everybody that joined the hangout here to give me a few names to review. So we've done that. We took a good look at Bitcoin, really long and short of it here. Fractals fire. And the institutional bias has turned up. So if anything, pullbacks are buying opportunities. We should probably be looking for significant resistance to come in somewhere between about 7,500 and 7,800. There is no signs of failure right now, so I don't think it's a good idea to really step in front of this thing just yet. We took a look at a couple names that I've actually been interested in. This little pink, you know, just go and hunt these W's. When the W's come in, you got to step up and pull the trigger. I do have open orders working to sell halves on W's. So basically, you know, just following my trading plan. And really, you know, just based on what you see here, I don't have a problem if you want to join me. I mean, I'm long from the green box. So if you want to join me in the green box, you're more than welcome. So get out there and enjoy yourself. Have some fun. Don't chase, right? Obviously, the Doge trade is long gone, right? The last thing in the world I want to hear is that people were actually buying Doge up here. And I suppose if you do want to buy Doge, I don't mind the idea. But, you know, I think you ought to keep in mind Alex's simple rule that when Doge gets below 40 sats, that's when you step in. You bought at 93? Jonas? Seriously? Right here? No, pink. Okay, cool. Oh, okay, pink. That's acceptable. All right. All right, so I can live with you buying pink down here. That's perfectly fine by me. Okay. All right, guys. Why don't we leave it at that? You guys have yourselves a great rest of your day. I'm off to Liam. Hope you guys enjoyed the presentation, the information that I gave, and the site gets some good value out of what I talked about here today. So have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best. The only thing left to say now is bye for now.